the diagram. Number 8. I am claiming that 1 is congruent to 2. Angle 1 is congruent to 2 on this diagram. So what I'm going to be doing here, because this helps me out a lot, is I'm actually going to highlight the 2 lines that make up angle 1, and I'm going to highlight the 2 angles that make up angle 2. And I'm going to look at both sides of both angles and say to myself, do they share a line? When I highlighted them, do they share a line? What line do they share? U. That makes it the transversal, the one they share. The other 2, R and S, guess what those lines are going to be? Parallel. Done. All right, now you just got to tell me why. All right, what type of angles did I form with 1 and 2 up here? So for number 8, the question says, are any lines parallel? You guys just told me which 2 lines. R is parallel to S. And then they said, if so, state a postulate or theorem. Remember everything we wrote last 2 days as justifications and reasons? Flip it. Flip it now. What types of angles were 1 and 2? So I'm going to say corresponding angles. That's not good enough, though. Just because you have corresponding angles doesn't mean the lines are parallel. They have to be what? Corresponding angles congruent imply what today? Parallel lines. So I'll give you the angles today. You say, is that enough info to say any lines are parallel? All right, I'll do a couple more with you, and then I'll let you go in your group. Number 9 says angles 2 and 9 are congruent. So I'm like, all right, I got you. 2 and 9. Do either sides of their angles share a line? Yes or no? Yes, what's the line? S, that's your transversal. What are the other 2 lines that make up the angles? Lines U and V, and those would be my parallel lines. It's convenient when I see it highlighted. All right, that's 50% done. You got to tell me what type of angles now are 2 and 9. Alternate exterior angles, and what are they? Congruent. Alternate exterior angles congruent imply I have parallel lines. Perfect. Now we're going to start arguing. I'm going to skip to number 14. Now you have 3 and 7. Okay, I'm going to ask you the same question I did in the last 2. Do either side of 3 and 7 have a line in common? I told you we're going to start arguing. For you yeses, what's the line then? But that doesn't make up angle 3 or 7. Like if I look at angle 7, it's made up of R and V. Yes? T's got nothing to do with it. Angle 3 is made up of U and S. They got anything in common? Do they have any lines in common? They have no transversal in common, which means they cannot be one of the special angles. If they have no transversal in common, they cannot have any of those special angles. So it's pretty easy here. No parallel lines. They don't exist here. Everyone good? You guys that said T, I get where you're coming from because they share a little corner piece, but that's not how those angles are made. We good there? And also, here's what I'll get to. Well, hold on a second. Hold on. Well, isn't 3 congruent to 9, and 9's congruent to 7, so 3's congruent to 7, so I got U and V. Is 3 congruent to 9? Is 3 congruent to 9?
Yeah.
Why is it not congruent? Do I have parallel lines? No, so nothing's congruent here. All right, unless I have parallel lines. So that's no parallel lines there. They have no special relationship. You and your group are going to finish it. Go, go. Here we go. Number 10 here. 5's congruent to 7. If 5's congruent to 7, do I have parallel lines? What are they and why? So 5 and 7. Here we go. Start us off 10 again. As we like to say, one jab. 29, yeah.
R parallel to S.
Yep. Alternate interior angles. Everyone good? Okay. Keep checking your work, please. Keep checking your work. Here we go. 4. Where am I here? 11. Ooh, 7 and 8 are equal to 180, also known as supplementary. Done. Same side interior supplementary, which they should be. Imply parallel lines. Here we go. 3 and 6 are also supplementary. Does that give me anything? 3 and 6 are supplementary. 24? Nope. 19? If 3 and 6 are supplementary? Why?
Same side interior angles.
There you go. Same side interior supplementary. Perfect. 13. 3 is now congruent to 5. Do I have any parallel lines? 24. Nope. How about 9? What? Say that again. U is parallel to V. What type of angles were those? Congruent, imply parallel lines. We already went over 14. Final one, 15. $10. Nope. See you later. 15. 15 for 15. 4 congruent to 5, so? First time we had corresponding, oh, second time we had corresponding angles. All good. Questions? Okay, can we apply this now to a statement's reasons? Let's find out. Go ahead, get set up, kids. Did I mention in beginning of class the quiz isn't Wednesday, it's Thursday? No. Okay, I misspoke yesterday. It's not, I don't know even if I told you it was Wednesday, but it's actually next Thursday. Okay, Thursday. All right, you ready? Let's do this. Ooh, look at the proof statement. Now you're proving lines parallel instead of me giving you the lines were parallel. So here's what I need you guys to do right now within your groups. Quickly, very quickly. I want you to play the if game. If I gave you ST and UV were parallel, if I gave you that, what angles would be congruent then? Real quickly in your group. If I gave you that, what angles would be congruent right now? About a 20-second discussion right now. If you knew that, if that was given, what 2 angles would be congruent up here? Use the numbered angles, please. 18, what 2 angles would be congruent? 18? If you knew those 2 lines were parallel, what 2 angles up here would be equal? Do we see any special types of angles formed by those 2 parallel lines? Because I do see the letter Z that we talked about yesterday. There's no corresponding up here. Here you go. Ready? Ready? Those are my parallel lines. Okay. What are the alternate interior? We sure about that, or is that just your group speaking? Okay, then give me another pair then. You're not off the hook yet, because I'm not going to accept that. 2 and 3 are congruent, yep. And give me another pair then. If we know alternate interior so well. One and what else are alternate interior? Okay. So if I knew those lines were parallel, everyone's in agreement, 2 would be congruent to 3, yes? So here's your proof now. Get them congruent. If you, look, here's why. If you can get them congruent, what happens to the lines? They're parallel. So make this right now your goal right now. Get me 2 congruent to 3. But you can't say they're alternate interior because I don't know the lines are parallel. So stay away from that. Somehow, some other method needs 2 congruent to 3 right now. And look at the 2 givens. 15. Any thoughts on how I can get 2 and 3 congruent? Yes, there you go. So 2 is indeed congruent to 3 because of substitution. Again, if you guys find yourself writing down parallel lines imply, stop. Stop. What were you not given? Yeah, so why are we writing it down? It implies nothing because you don't have them. All right, don't write it down. Substitution, now that 2 and 3 are congruent, now what do I have? ST is now parallel to UV. We wrote this down a couple times on the previous examples. Alternate interior angles, congruent, got to have the congruent there, implies parallel lines. That was just an appetizer, though. That was just an appetizer. Next! Mark your diagram. All the usual pregame stuff. All right, let's do this. Guys, you are at the point right now in the year where you just can't start writing stuff and cross your fingers and hope it all comes together at the end. All right, we need to start making a plan before we write anything down. All right, because once we start writing and it's going to the land of nowhere, that's a place you do not want to live. All right, that is a place you do not want to visit. So here, let's play the if game with your group again. Look at the 2 lines I'm asking you to prove parallel. I have KM and LN. In your group right now, play the if game. If those were parallel, what angles would be congruent in return? If those 2 lines were parallel, what 2 angles up here would have to be congruent? I'm using the prove lines, KM and LN. If they were parallel, what 2 angles up here would be congruent? Anybody have it? What two angles up here would have to be congruent if you knew those lines were parallel? 2 and 4. So make that your goal now. Make that your one job. Get 2 congruent to 4. Because if you do, you'll have one more step in your proof left. All right, this is not a simple substitution right off the bat because I cannot use substitution on these two. So let me go to the other given. JM parallel to KN. Anybody see any type of angles that would are formed there and would be congruent? Eric, what's up? 1 is congruent to 3. Nice job. Because they're what type? Okay, how am I going to start this reason? Yeah, get used to going back and forth. Parallel lines imply corresponding angles congruent. Okay, I know it's going to start going through your head right now. What are we going to start bringing up here to get here? Some substitutions. Probably not 1, because how many congruent quantities have I written up on the board here? You can only use how many at a time for substitution? Okay, so somebody right now, out of these 3, are going to pick 2 for me that I can perform substitution on. So out of these 3, I need somebody to pick 2 of them that I can perform substitution on. 21, big job. Here we go. Pick 2 of them that I can perform substitution on. I got 3 of them here, correct? 2 of them I can perform substitution on. If I take these 2, I can use substitution. I want those 2. So out of these 3 right here, I want you to pick 2 of them that I can use substitution on. Okay, do you remember substitution? Something duplicates itself, right? So if I picked 1 and 2 and 1 and 3, could I use substitution on those? If 1's equal to 2 and 1's equal to 3. Is there anything I could get out of that? No? Ready? I'll make this 1 equals 3, 1 equals 2. Where did 4 come from? Okay, let's try to be serious because I'm trying to teach you this. Okay? 1 and 3. 3 is equal to 1, and so is angle 2. So what 2 have to be equal to each other? What did you just use to do that? Okay. We good here? Using substitution. Okay. Because that's something we're going back to unit 2 from. Once you use them, do not use them again. Now how many congruent quantities do I have left? 1, 2. Use them. 3's congruent to 4. 2's congruent to 3. What do you got for me in return? 13. What do you have for me in return? 2 is congruent to 4, and isn't that what our goal was? And that is a second substitution. And that was our goal, right? Now that I know 2 is congruent to 4, I now know that Km is parallel to Ln. What types of angles were 2 and 4? Corresponding angles, and I'm going to harp on this. That's not good enough. No.
Congruent.
They have to be congruent. Just because you have corresponding angles means squadouche. Corresponding angles, congruent, and we're not done yet. Imply parallel lines. Okay, with the minute we have left here, go to your homework, please. I want to play the what if game so you know on your homework what you're going to be your goal is for every proof. Okay, number 1. I got to prove BF is parallel to GH. If you knew that was true, what angles up there would be congruent? If BF and GH were parallel, what two angles would be congruent? If. Natalie. 2 and 3, so get them congruent this weekend. Get 2 congruent to 3. For number 2, if ED was parallel to BA, these diagrams look familiar, don't they? What angles would have to be congruent if ED was parallel to AB? Ooh, angle 4 and remember 1 and 3 and 4 and 2 are already given congruent, so don't tell me those. Angle DEG and
ABE.
ABE would need to be congruent, all right? And then you can do those for the rest of them.